Let's just record. Alright, we are recording now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2 live streams. I believe this is going to be the finale of these streams, meaning that next week we're probably going to be moving on to something else, and I already have an idea of what that will be in mind. But anyway, in the last part, we had basically proven Lord Van Ziek's innocent of the crime of murdering Inspector Gregson. However, during the trial, Cosima brought up the possibility that, okay, he may not have been the one who did the deed, but he was the one who gave the order to Gregson to go kill Judge Jigoku. And he's the Reaper of the Bailey, he's guilty of all these other murders. And during that, there was this possibility that, this thing came up, this possibility that Van Zieks was not the Reaper of the Bailey, but rather Lord Strongheart was the Reaper of the Bailey. He was the one ordering that all of these people who got declared not guilty be killed. But because he's the judge of the case, he tried to have the trial stopped. And he's just like, no, we're not doing this. Van Zieks is guilty, end of story. But we managed to get the trial to continue. And the prime suspect, not the defendant, our prime suspect is the judge. So this is going to be very interesting. Okay. Again, I'm not sure if it's the TV or if it's like a system update, but this is running a lot smoother than I remember it being. And it's a lot crisper than I remember it being. Let me see if I can get the voices back. So, witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Eugene Mikotoba, lecturer in forensic medicine at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo, Japan. She's just staring Mikotoba down. And Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is... this is Dr. Maria Gordon, Scotland Yard's practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand. Yes, Dr. Scythe. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared. Just staring daggers at him. Because I was just, please stop staring at me. And now she's staring daggers into us. Beautiful. Okay. You summon this strange Japanese man as a witness to that autopsy. But you don't summon Mama? That makes no sense. She was there too. That's about the size of it. I've had her eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly. What side was in the antechamber too? Poor man, the idea of it's making me shudder. I mean, see, the thing is that she was clearly in cahoots with Strongheart, who was a suspect in this. But I mean, by all rights, I mean, she could just lie to protect him. Revelations about Dr. Scythe that came to light some days ago defile the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. Actually, that's something, he just gave the reason. So let me just see it again, okay. The Ministry of Justice's decision on that is final. Well... I went for the stereotypical, like, vampire voice because, well, actually, I think that is, whatever. I'm just gonna shout objection in his voice, see if I can get it. Objection! That's as close as I can get. Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? She's ready to kill. Ministry of Justice? Questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba, but I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. The the prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners. So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zieks? Yes, I was. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure. Mama has far more skill than any Japanese man. Ah, more racism! Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe? Yes. I noted all the doctor's findings, and when we were done, he read through the document and signed it. Oh, Mama. As secondary assistant, she wouldn't have had such a good view of all the innards. So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his insistence, Lord Van Zieks' autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal decisive evidence about Genshin's. So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was a result of that autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended and justice was done. I have three voices that are very similar to each other, I apologize. But Gregson admitted it before he was killed. He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on. Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here. And that's why I'm here too. Very well then, you will give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. Oh? You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Yeah, he doesn't want any of this coming back to him. So, like, any contradiction, he's just like, out, out, out! Remember that. Witness testament. So did Gregson, like, put something in the body? The autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange. Western-style sword. Okay. There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. Okay, see, that's another thing. I'm not sure if Ace Attorney logic goes by real-world logic, but something lawyers will constantly say is that, lawyers, detectives, anyone who investigates this kind of stuff will say, is that when you see stuff like that, it's most likely fake. Because if you've been fatally wounded and you know you've been fatally wounded, your first instinct isn't, oh, I need to write something down or do something to make it abundantly clear who killed me was. No, the first thing you're thinking is, I need to get medical assistance now so you can try and save your life. You know, the guy can get away for all you care, so long as you get to live. But what was this evidence? No indication? Nothing to suggest fabrication? Professor Mikotoba, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear to it in testimony. Ah! Yeah, he did it. He clearly did it. Well, that clears things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Asagi, has come from you. What? You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is a fabrication. No, he freely acknowledged it. I swear he did. Freely? With the tip of a sword at his throat? The man was clearly at his wit's end. The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Lord Clint Van Ziek's death. And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter. She's still staring at him. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it, and the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon. Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All 4 of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Oh, such horrifying crimes. But this one, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint Van Zieks, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right. He was stabbed through the heart with a sword. That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promise to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of supposition or speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during the cross-examination. What? I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony. And I fully intend to exercise that right! Ryunosuke. I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law. As I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree. Very well. You may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Yes, my lord. The autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any obvious indication of being fabricated. Hold it! You couldn't say? No, sadly not. But then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you? No, true, I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. But at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements and such like. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something. And at those times, what was the secondary assistant doing? Following this Japanese man's orders to adjust the lighting or pass him implements. But that doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team. Quite, yes. So would you kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that? Professor Migatoba, think. Was there nothing at all that seemed out of place to you? Well, yes, there was, as a matter of fact. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange. Hold it! In all the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor, the victims were killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were, well, mauled? Correct. And yet, Lord Van Zieks was stabbed. Ah! Do you mean to say... You think Lord Clint Van Zieks may not, in fact, have been one of the professor's victims? There is no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigations carried out at the time. But... Genshin Asogi confessed to all of his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to having taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy. Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. No evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog. A true hound of hell. There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all.
Hold it!
But, you weren't actually present at the autopsy yourself, were you, Dr. Gory? Does that matter? Well, I just wonder how useful your testimony can be in that case, really. I mean, it would be different if your mother, Dr. Scythe, were in the stand, but... I've read all the paper... Hold on. I've read all the paperwork about the case, and Maris told me the story countless times. I forgot I was supposed to do that. The statement I just made is exactly what's written in the autopsy report. I did confirm that myself at the time, it's true. Besides a stab wound, there were no other signs of internal trauma. I see. Mama told me all about it. Oh? She said there was nothing of note internally. But they did find an amazing piece of evidence. Something unbelievable. And they still won't tell us what it is! Unbelievable? What do you mean? Come on, Dr. Gory! What was it? It just goes to the next line. It's unbelievable. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach.
Hold it!
What exactly was it, though? What does beautiful but dangerous mean? Was it like... I'm starting to think that it was like a tip of the blade, or maybe a dog tag or something like that. Well, it was sparkly and round with a hole, as if it might slip over a finger, perhaps. Sparkly and round with a hole. A ring? It was belonging to Genshin Asogi. My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach? At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus quartus of his left hand, the fourth or ring finger. Okay, you could have just said that. I understood it was some sort of keepsake. When my father left Japan for London 16 years ago, I was 8 years old. But I remember that ring. You do? My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them. Obviously not. It was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard to this day. After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by the police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had been pulled off. Deep abrasions? So does that mean, like, he got, like, hurt taking the ring off? Or is it just, okay, that is, like, a mark that shows that you do normally wear a ring there? They arrested the man there and then, right before my eyes. How could they? I brought the ring along with me today. Ooh, that'd be nice. What? What the fuck kind of ring is that? Here it is. A bit dusty from years in the stores. Good gracious, yes, that's it. I haven't seen that in 10 long years. And that was found inside the victim's stomach? Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitated there, Professor Mikotoba. Should we read something into that? Well, it's just that thinking back now, I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body. Oh my! Really? And at that precise moment, Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see. Dr. Gory, the removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not? However it came to be here, the court cannot deny that this is crucial evidence for today's proceedings. Very well, you may submit it. Mr. Asogi's ring has been entered into the court record. Let's take a look at that now. It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting the jewel. Let's take a look at it. These fat claws are doing a good job of protecting the equally fat gemstone in the middle of this ring. Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut on them. I should think. Ow! Now my finger's bleeding. These claws really are sharp. Oh my! That was very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo, even for you. Who would make such a dangerous ring? You couldn't swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely. That's true. So maybe they should have checked the trachea or something like that. I mean, some kind of like thing to see if there was like any cuts or something on it. Maybe it's the lack of evidence. Like, shouldn't there be blood on this in that case? Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. Let's take a look around. So we've examined that. We've examined that it couldn't easily go down without cutting your throat to shit on the way down. I'm looking for anything, really. Anything that would update what we know about it. We must examine it very carefully, Mr. Naruhodo. Very carefully indeed. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. Let's also take a look at the autopsy report before I do this, because I'm about to present that ring. Let's take a look at Clint's autopsy report. This is why I saved, because I'm gonna present the ring.
Objection!
Okay, that's wrong. Because if you were to swallow that, you would cut your throat to shit. And like, yeah, you're dying, but still. I mean, there should have been signs of that, but there weren't apparently. Oh, this is where I presented, okay.
Objection!
The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach, but you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Mikotoba? That's right. As I said in my testimony before, at that moment I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, counsel? That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asogi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition at best! What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. That's the autopsy report! It's explicit in that report, counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally, so I'm not sure how you intend to prove your point. You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination, and in addition to its size, there are sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death, even more so, I'm sure. you would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice. But if he really swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat would have remained as internal trauma. No! Yeah, this thing would cut your... Ryunosuke got cut just examining it. That thing would tear your throat to shit if you tried to swallow it. And there you arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago. Then why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day. Look at this! Now this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's that now, Mikotoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size with those sharp metal claws that it has, surely you'd expect to see damage to the throat and esophagus, torn mucous membranes at the very least. Dr. Mikotoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you. I'm terribly sorry. I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down. So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father. I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There is no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but... damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified, even in living subjects.
Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
I don't think so! And Dr. Gory, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the store without permission will not go unpunished.
We animate the dead to find the truth.
I beg your pardon? He says that a lot. She didn't do it fast this time, but Mama, she chose to stitch up her corpses with all her secrets inside. That's wrong. Dr. Gory, it's looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her Mama. Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I've just remembered something. An earlier incident. What incident? The one I recounted to you before about a memory I have. Of Genshin Asogi saving my life. What? My father saved your life? It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Excuse me. All of a sudden... Don't make a peep. You're coming up. Don't make a peep. You're coming with us. All of our assailants were armed with pistols. Their faces obscured by scars. The next thing I knew, there was a silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring. Ah! Are you saying... I've always believed that those thugs were after me. But now, I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. You mean, the ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night?
Objection!
You pathetic coward! You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring! You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer and have him arrested. Kazuma, open your eyes. Ryunosuke? You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you've thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you're apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born out of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in this trial? Maybe he just couldn't think of them? In the closed court hearings 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. But then... Oh my! That is very strange! If Mr. Asogi did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then... Unless he was told ahead of time of what the plan was. But why would he then accept his own death? Just to... What was he offered? What did they say they were going to do? Oh. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I got it now. Okay, the idea is that they needed a scapegoat. They couldn't figure out who the professor was. They just couldn't. They just needed a scapegoat. So, they decided that they would frame him just like, okay, this will reduce all of the panic. We won't have to worry about, No, what if Clint was actually the professor? But they made a deal with Asogi for him to, for one reason or another, they just couldn't prove it. So, Asogi killed him while defending someone else. And so, they set him up to take the fall, and they said, don't worry, we're not actually going to kill you, we're just going to make it look like you're dead, and then we're going to let you escape. Seems a little crazy, but we're in crazy territory right now. An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Asogi. Your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability for logical thought. Arg! Genshin Asogi's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. Ah! But if that autopsy was all above board, There'll be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion.
Objection!
Thank you, Ryunosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Kazuma? What's this latest absurdity, Council? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound, but for one giant hole! I beg your pardon? I say that a lot, is it? I wish I had a counter ready. You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence, but there's another possible explanation. You've overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence.
Objection!
Silence that would lead to him being convicted and sent to his death? A death that apparently didn't work, seeing how he came back from the grave? You literally saw him rise from the grave, my dude! If the autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested.
Objection!
Oh, those results were an invention, alright. There's no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to that autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Me? Kazuma-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruhodo. If we can only show there was a reason for his father's silence in this trial, a reason why the man would have said nothing, even though he was innocent. Do I have evidence? Could it have been some negotiation, perhaps? Enough rhetoric! The court must be shown evidence! What proof do you have that could possibly explain Asogi's silence in court? Let's see. I keep flicking between Asogi and Asogi. It could be these, the Asogi papers. Or Asogi papers. I don't even know anymore.
Take that!
This is what I got. It's probably wrong, but this is what I got. This is the defense's answer to that question. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna save now. I am saving. Okay. Yeah, he said something about this being my last weapon. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, it says here the only weapon I have left. I'm drawing a blank here. I want to say this for some reason. So maybe what they're saying is Genshin... they made a deal with Genshin where it's like, I mean, either you can allow yourself to be found guilty, or we can accuse... I just know him as Venzix. Okay, whatever.
Take that!
This is probably wrong. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Oh, I can just save here. Okay, I'm saving here. I'm an idiot. It'll save me some time. Okay. Oh, okay.
Take that!
It's true that Genshin Hisogi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. Or, on the contrary. Okay, this is what I was going for. I just didn't know what evidence to present. It led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, there are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Hisogi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. I would go further than that, in fact. I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Hisogi can be explained in no other way. Order! Order! First fabricated evidence, and now a jailbreak conspiracy? Of course, because it's all, intimately linked. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Ah! Mr. Vigil and possibly the warden. Governor Caden? And the poor chief warder of the prison? I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce. To summon the governor of the prison after all these years. Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What? Father? My dear friend may appear a little rattle-pated at times, but I can assure you he is extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison. Oh, hold on. Okay, he's talking about Sholmes. Asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey as a matter of extreme urgency. Mr. Sholmes, did that? Oh, okay, sorry about the delivery. Let me try that again. Mr. Sholmes did that? Are you telling me that? Both men are, unless I'm much mistaken. Waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment. He has it all figured out. My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared it at its outset. You promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. Will the new witnesses state their name and occupations for the court, please?
Hey, Barry Caden, governor of Barclay Prison.
Everyone calls me gossip. I sell your other persona, if you don't mind. Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course. My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called Professor 10 years ago.
Lost the Professor? We've already been through all this before, a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything untoward happened.
A convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you'd call nothing untoward.
Ah, well.
The convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed, and he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Caden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. If it turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Asogi out of your prison, then of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment.
Guns! Hold on there, laddie! All I did was...
Oh, he's stopping right there. Witness, Governor Caden.
Aye, sir!
You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country, a great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Osuki, if you threaten the witness again, you will be held in contempt of court. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court now and explain what exactly took place. Very well. Let the witness give their formal testimony. The court, tell the court everything you know of the plot to break Asogi out of Barclay 10 years ago. The jailbreak plot.
It was the day that It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. I signed the convict to the chief warder Vigil here and put the plan into action behind the scenes.
I was responsible for Asogi right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
I didn't ken.
What?
I didn't ken if there were some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire.
A directive from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that that was the jailbreak plot?
Aye, that's right.
Who sent it? Who authorized that plan?
I didn't ken that.
What? Hold on. Didn't ken? What the fuck? Hold on. Is he saying he doesn't know? I'm sorry. I actually had to Google this. I don't know. Yeah.
You saying you don't know? Listen, there wasn't a thing about the professor case that wasn't unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I cannot tell you.
I see. But if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Asogi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Asogi admitting to the crimes he didn't commit. That, counsel, is nothing more than speculation on your part. So, let me ask the defense. Oh, yes, my lord? I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination? Of course! Absolutely! I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well. Proceed, counsel. The jailbreak plot.
Hold it!
Excuse me. And you say you don't know who actually issued the directive?
Hey, that's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official.
But if it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away.
And it wasn't me. I cannot say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office.
What? Didn't you just say it came from the prosecutor's office?
With no telling where it started, there's a fair chance it came from higher up the ladder. Basically, I cannot give you any indication of who was behind it.
You can't be serious. All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose.
The likes of us on the ground, as it were, to not bother with little speculation. Oh, with idle speculation. We just get the job done. I signed the convict to the chief warden of Vigil here, and put the plan into action behind the scenes.
Hold it!
So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all? That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor?
Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it.
All right then. Who else didn't know about the plan?
I've no the first idea, laddie. My part in the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there were other folk in the prison service who'd been given similar orders.
So you don't know who else was involved?
Aye, that's right. All I can tell you is that the night it actually happened, the present at the raids was Dr. Stevens.
Who? Oh. Why'd I have to get caught up in such a terrible business? I was responsible for for Asagi right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
Hold it!
Did you not notice anything unusual happening in the lead up to that night? Oh, everything was unusual. Exception after exception. After all, it was the professor. The man had terrorized the country as never before with his crimes. In order to hide his identity, he was forced to wear an iron mask over his head. Hideous treatment.
The fellow was surprisingly docile for someone who had taken the lives of 5 of the country's nobles.
Being the chief warder, I was the only person permitted to approach his cell. I can still hardly believe that I was duped by my own country. I believe you jumped from the window of the governor's office when the jailbreak was blamed on you, didn't you? gosh, Vigil, I cannot apologize enough. No, Governor, I don't believe you can. It won't change what's happened. And what else can you tell us about the situation, Governor Caden?
I didn't ken if there was some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office.
Hold it!
But you've already acknowledged that the orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation.
Aye, well, be that as it may, I didn't ken nothing about that. The witness stand is no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I can tell you that much, I do.
Then I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offense. So you were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid that won't absolve you of guilt here. A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. You may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor. So that's what it's to be, is it? Even with a threat of conviction, you won't break your silence. Because the man who orchestrated it is standing right before him. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's great British Empire.
Hold it!
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety?
I did everything I could at the time.
As you know, Genjin Asogi was shot dead in Logate Cemetery after the escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too?
My instructions were to do with getting the joke out of the jail and nothing more. I cannot tell you anything about what happened after that. Only, personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan.
Except why do that? Why not just straight up kill him right there? Why not just do the execution legitimately? Why arrange for him to escape and literally rise from the grave only to shoot him dead right there?
Excuse me.
What would be the point of that? The only person who could have done that was someone who didn't know thing one about the plan. Mr. Vigil, is something wrong?
Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir?
He's saluting now? What is it, some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Caden was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country. Just as my father was betrayed, it seems. But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. Because what? If you're just gonna kill him anyway, why not just fucking go through with the execution? Why not just legitimately go through with the execution, only to shoot him dead in the cemetery? What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? To make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. That's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape? Ah! Yes, that's quite true!
If whoever negotiated with Asogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison as dictated by his sentence.
It all happened in that vast chamber of secrets that is Barclay, behind the high prison walls. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, It's an unsettling mystery, certainly.
Truth be told, there was a wee matter that never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak between Asogi and a body at the top, it does not quite it does not quite add up, does it?
Governor Caden, I must insist that you explain these doubts that you have by amending your formal testimony.
Gods! Hey, go on then.
Oh, he's not happy about that. Seems to me that the Japanese fella didn't have nothing to do with the bargain.
Hold it!
What do you mean? Admitting to the crimes. That, excuse me. That was what he had to bargain with, surely.
I cannot say that myself. After all, did the prosecution have no conclusive evidence against the Carly? What?
This, you mean, discovered during the final victim's autopsy. There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can holler about misconduct in the trial 10 years ago all you like. But if you can't establish that it happened with hard evidence, no one's going to listen. Aye, that's right. So what I'm saying is, a convict had nothing he could use for any kind of bargaining at all.
I mean, he could have just been like, no, that makes no sense. If he swallowed that ring, then why were there no other internal signs of injury? He would have said something. The witness makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. Yet the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. So he had something that allowed him to negotiate. So Sogi agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of prison later. I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations. And perhaps something compelled him to agree? What a terrible thing. Using the law to legitimize such underhand dealings with a desperate man. Only to double-cross him in the end. It's quite the opposite of justice. I can't help feeling there's something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up. Something doesn't quite add up, Mr. Naruhodo. No, it doesn't. But I can't quite put my finger on what yet. In that case, we must keep digging until we identify the problem. So I think this is what we have to press. I'm going to save first. And I'm going to go through the court record again. Something to bargain with. What would he have to bargain with, though? The autopsy report? I kind of want to say it's the autopsy report. Hold on 1 second. I think I see something on the screen. Got it. I want to present this because he could have just shouted out, this autopsy report doesn't make any sense. The autopsy report contradicts the ring. What did he have to negotiate with? I also want to say it was the Asogi papers?
Objection!
Yeah, I'm wrong. I probably would have game over by this point if it weren't for me save scumming. Although, from what I understand, if you run out, you can just start the, you can just start from the last place you left off with all your strikes intact. Well, not all your strikes, with like, just fresh 5. This is the only other thing I can think of.
Objection!
Oh, okay, this is it. Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison, Genjin Asogi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon.
However, the fella cannot possibly have anything that, like that.
But you know that he did, Governor. The Asogi Papers. Or Asagi Papers. I don't know how to pronounce it anymore. The name given to the last will and testament of Genjin Asogi. Asagi. Asogi. Whatever. I don't want to keep saying... I don't know which one it is. I'm going this entire... both games without knowing which one it is. It turns out that Mr. Asagi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught him with it one day.
You squealed, did you wee rat? Did I not tell you to keep that a secret? You can't touch me now. Gag!
When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Asagi pleaded with the warder. Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon? And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes. All the prison warders searched through the belongings in his cell, but... that will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asagi Papers. Or Asogi Papers, whatever. Governor Caden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you? Eh? Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Asagi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow?
Jinx! What the blazes are you blathering about? The will was found, right and proper, and the fella's cell where I said it would be.
But how can that be? Where in his cell? We all searched the place from top to bottom.
Well, you didn't have a proper job, you wee pilly-wally galoot.
You can't criticize me now.
I should have told you before, did I know, you young lawyer?
Yes, you did. I have the document right here. It's written in Japanese and reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genjin Asagi. Genjin Asogi, Genjin Asagi, whatever. Which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here.
What? What inconsistency?
Mr. Asagi described this document as the only weapon he had left, and yet this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would give him the convict any leverage.
Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake?
As has clearly been demonstrated already, what went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former Chief Warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least, sorely mistaken. What? No! I definitely heard him say that, I swear! Clearly we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asagi papers. A waste of time. If the will was fake, where is the real document?
Objection!
It's on Asagi. Excuse me. Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's clear that Barclay Prison is hiding something. It's clear that the jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office. It's clear that there's some illicit negotiations took place here. Is your lordship just going to gloss over the... I didn't get a chance to catch that. What was that last one? Over these obvious reprehensible facts? What did you say? We should hear more from the Chief Warder. Have him testify again. The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament. Yes, sir, my lord. The Asagi papers. As the warder responsible for the condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. He turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
I only found out about the Asagi papers when a directive came telling me to impact them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. A kimono, I think it's called.
What? In his kimono? That's a lie! We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all his clothes. It can't be true.
Were you not satisfied with calling me a liar the one day? You wee half-an-ear?
What? Ha! There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared?
Gag!
Little and large. What a double act. We complied with Asagi's Asagi's will as far as well possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen. And we were much obliged. I had confirmed that all of my father's belongings arrived safely.
Aye, and you cannot deny the handwritten is that of your old man, eh?
Yes, there's no mistaking that's my father's brushwork.
Really?
And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. The Asagi papers. Responsible for the condemned victims, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell.
Hold it!
I'm sorry. So would that mean that you conversed with Mr. Asogi? Yes, certainly. Though there was precious little time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm, considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, he really didn't strike me one as a man capable of mass murder.
Yet he confessed in full to the crimes.
I know. That's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. He was so tranquil and intelligent. It put me in mind of an Eastern holy man. And what about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that? It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well, yes. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. Hold on. Excuse me.
Hold it!
And he pleaded with you not to report him, didn't he? Yes, that's right.
And like the vampire ye are, you did not tell me. What a blatant breach of trust that was!
I could see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly. According to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever. Yes, you're quite right. Ah, so when exactly was the will penned?
That was before the man was remanded in Barclay, obviously.
Yes, at the prosecutor's office under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Osugi to make a will for the benefit of his family and his homeland. In that case, why was it found in his cell?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely.
Ah!
It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell.
Well...
The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor?
A prison governor cannot be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office.
See, ken can mean, like, no, but it can also just be can. It can also just be the word can. In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter. I'm unable to offer an explanation here and now. Of course. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. The fact that my father's will was discovered in his cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why. Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will. Turn the cell inside out, looking for the confusion, which no avail.
Hold it!
It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right? Why would he even think it's in there? Yes, and when I reported back that we couldn't find it, he grabbed me by the cravat and yelled, "It cannot have disappeared completely in my face."
Hey, well, it's doing to the governor to keep everybody working as hard as they should.
Oh my god, hold on, did you see that? Did you see, oh my god, they really just took the animation of him being shook by him and just had him play it without the animation of the governor grabbing it and shaking it. You can tell because his tie is just floating there. The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it? But it proved impossible to find. That's right. And before I knew it, it was in the morning paper, that blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer who's risen from the dead. Oh, you mean... The article based on Mr. Driver's experience at Logate Cemetery. Yes, that was it. The day after I'd read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when the awful accusation was made. That you aided Genshin Asogi to escape from the prison, resulting in your immediate dismissal. I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that. As
As the governor of the prison, I had no choice. I could not have done anything else. I found out about the Oski papers were directly found them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe. Okay.
Hold it!
And that directive came from the, I'm sorry, about the desk. And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak?
Hey, to the top levels of the prosecutor's office.
What name was on it?
I did not key before. And I did not key now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the fella's cell.
Document. Was that the wording? Document, not will?
Aye, that's what it said.
Am I clutching the straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Sogi's last will and testament that the sender was, that the sender of the directive was after. Continue with your testimony then, witness. Excuse me. The kimono. In Mr. Asogi's kimono?
Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up.
Yes. He was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand.
That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution.
Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword.
His sword!
Karuma, the famous sword of the Yatsuki clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have had a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Ryunosuke. Respectful silence?
The warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. He could not have hurt anyone with that thing.
Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials?
Aye. He wrote that will before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see.
Dr. Mikotoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office. A Susuri inkstone, Black Sumi ink, and Hachi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it. But I'm sorry to say, the letters just look like a squirming mass jet black earthworms to me.
What do you have to say?
Excuse me.
Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil! Sir? It was Scarlet, sir. Scarlet? Scarlet? What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful. Is it something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance? Yeah. So, the governor said it was jet black ink, but he's saying it's scarlet. Something of importance? Possibly, or possibly not. I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid. My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Permission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember it, this document was written in scarlet ink, but perhaps I'm mistaken.
Hold it!
I'm gonna press it just to be sure. Scarlet, you say? Well, yes. I mean, I only caught sight of it for a brief moment, of course. But even by the dim light in the cell, I remember thinking it was an unusual color. At the very least, I'm quite sure it wasn't black.
Oh, he's not happy about that. Witness! Is that really what you saw?
Ah, what?
Sir?
Is something wrong, Lord Strongheart?
I apologize. Continue.
What do you make of that, Mr. Naruhodo? For Lord Strongheart to be so visibly shaken in that way.
Oop! Didn't have her. You can plainly see the see the written here, and it's as black as the Earl of Hell's waistcoat.
Well, yes, you're right. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to confirm one point with you. Did you actually see the content of the document that Mr. Asagi was holding that night? Oh, well, no. I mean, there was no time. As soon as he noticed me there, he hid it behind his back.
But it was definitely a will, was it?
Yes, it was. That what Mr. Asogi told me.
The court need waste no further time on this matter. We have the will in question in our possession. There's nothing more to add.
A will written in scarlet ink. What did Mr. Vigil really see Kazuma's father holding, I wonder? If you have an inkling, Mr. Naruhodo...
Yeah, I know. I had to present Clint's autopsy report.
Because it said something about scarlet ink. The testimony doesn't give much away. So this will really was penned by Kazuma-sama's father. I wonder what he could possibly have meant when he described it as a weapon. It's starting to sound very much like Mr. Asaki actually had nothing. But the plan to break him out of jail went ahead, which means he must have had some bargaining power. He must have been hiding something. It's the only explanation that makes sense. It's starting to sound like Mr. Asaki actually might have had something. Which is it, Mr. Naruhodo?
I'm not sure, but I feel as though I'm on the brink of understanding all this. Let's listen to all the information again and see what more we can learn. We can't overlook even the smallest detail.
Absolutely.
Okay. 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 Just checking this again. Let's see here.
Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring finger of the right hand, but no document in corresponding ink was found.
Objection!
Scarlet-colored writing, is that what you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil? And I believe that's exactly what you did see. What?
So is it possible that Genshin had some kind of document written by Clint on there? However, again, you've no evidence to say that!
Have a look at this report.
That's my brother's autopsy report.
Yes, and there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand.
Yes, so it does.
Scarlet ink? Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit, but I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they?
Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have still in his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. What is your point, counsel?
My point is this: whatever Lord Clint Van Zieks was writing in that unusually colored ink, it must have been directly before his death, because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand.
What? I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open.
But Clink was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Clint Van Zieks was writing moments before his death? Then it was. If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil! Sir? When you spotted Mr. Asoli with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A last will and testament. Ah! If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asagi said. He had his last will and testament written out before he was even arrested. You really think? Before Clint was even killed! Mr. Vigil did indeed see the victim with a will. But it wasn't that of Genshin Asogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks! No! What?!
Objection!
This is madness! My brother's last will and testament? That would mean that he had chosen to die!
That is what it would mean, yes.
No! Impossible! That is utterly out of the question!
Lord Van Zieks.
Clint was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never! He wouldn't rest until the job was done, until the killer was caught. The idea that he would be willing to accept his own death is obscene!
Objection!
And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death. And that Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact the Darling jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained information of the utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy. Ah! No, Are they saying that that's the information that was being telegrammed in the final case of the last game? I've heard more than enough. Pursuing the notion of a phantom will a phantom will nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection.
I forgot how to read for a second. No, my lord, that's unacceptable. What did you say, counsel? The last will and testament that Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zieks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the contents of that document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. The reason why Lord Clint Van Zieks, a man of high and noble standing, would have chosen death, information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. Was Clint the professor? But it's just too hideous. I'm gonna save now just in case. Mr. Naruhodo, however difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Miss Usado, So hold your head high and keep soldiering on. Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zieks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details in the will were related to the Professor case. The defense's last testament is mere conjecture. What are you getting at, man? Ryunosuke! As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks was in fact a confession. You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zieks was actually penned that day was a confession. A confession? Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor. And his true identity.
Objection!
Enough, Council! What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor. That would mean... Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate that this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor, the man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy, wasn't Genshin Asogi after all. No, you can't be suggesting. It was in fact the man believed to be the 5th victim. Lord Clint Van Zieks himself! I'm not gonna continue that scream. It's finally open, is it? Pandora's box. The great Van Zieks family. They've been thoroughbreds of the British judiciary for years. And Lord Clint Van Zieks, he was a paragon of justice in the capital. He was actually a mass murderer? A perpetrator of atrocities of the vilest nature? If the general public ever found out, law and order in this country, but I didn't get a chance to read that. My brother. What was that last word? Law and order in this country would be finished. Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zieks. I wonder, though, did he never suspect Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Beric Van Zieks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was? Order! Order! Order in court! Lord Van Zieks. The Professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Yeah, that's the thing. He had to have seen that dog at some point. Feral enough to just attack on command? Massive? There's no way his brother could have hidden that from him. At least not during his visits to his place. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Yes, he did. Balmug. Balmug. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant. I don't believe this. My brother would go hunting in the forest or the grounds behind the house. He always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too, almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck, which we found in Case 2! A jewel-studded collar? That's right. Though sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night. A jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief.
It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London.
How could you?
There was an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold.
B.
It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital B.
What? An emblem bearing the initial B?
Oh my! You know it?
It's the insignia of the Baskerville family.
What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now?
Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom which Clint acquired acquired upon their marriage. There can be no doubt then. The collar you described was Balmung's.
The family insignia of Lord Clint Van Zeek's widow. There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course. But it could equally have been from human prey. So is it true then? Clint Van Zeeks really was Professor? Or his wife was? Impossible. These Japanese are making it all blah, blah, blah. So in fact, the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself. And that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society. My father knew that, and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. But at the very last hour, those he bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil. Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart? 10 years have passed, and still now the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy believing that justice was done. That though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well then. You may have the truth. Something tells me this isn't the end.
Tell me then. Tell me what Clint really was.
Lord Clint Van Zeeks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight those most fiendish of criminals, he requires one to become even more fiendish oneself.
Clint.
The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed the whole world. New industry, new technology, with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments meant even deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes and crime, growing daily to fill the darkness. Lord Clint Van Zeeks made it his mission to combat that darkness. But as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by a Japanese.
Once again? What do you mean?
10 years ago, your father, Genshin Isogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor? Yes, beyond all shadow of doubt. You must issue a warrant to search his home at once. Don't be absurd. The man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital. Yes, that's the point. That's why none of you British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion whilst he commits these atrocities, atrocious crimes behind the scenes. Do you have evidence? Nothing definitive as yet. But as he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate, we need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy. So a large family estate has a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard onto this based on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asagi's pleas, and as a result, he took it upon himself to visit Van Ziek's mansion on his own. We can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know of the outcome, of course, Lord Clint Van Zieks perished. I don't believe this. So, in actual fact, Kazuo-sama's father did. He made the late Lord Van Zieks meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor's killing by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life. As soon as I heard, I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened. And what about the will? Asagi must have already taken it. Nothing of the nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at the time. Bullshit! There was an order had come in telling you to look for it. I was the only person who knew of the true identity of the professor. So, I resolved to keep it a secret, and to guard the secret to the bitter end. So you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all? It was you, then, who pinned the crimes on my father! I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse. Then it was you who arranged for this fabricated evidence. I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally. Gregson? Obviously, he opposed me at first. Are you off your rocker? We can't do something like that! There's no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Van Zieks. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night. Yes, well, I've no doubt that it was the Japanese fella. But we haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog, so we're short a mortar weapon to boot. And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to this man's rampage for the good of the country. So we'll use whatever means necessary. Do I make myself clear, detective? Blimey. So that night 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, that was him, was it? That was Gregson and some hired help? Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who feigned his discovery from the victim's stomach during that autopsy. And in the light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Asagi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges. But I just don't believe that part. As far as I knew the man, my father despised such underhand dealings. It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness. What weakness? Isn't it obvious? You, Kazuma Asagi. Me? Perhaps you've no desire to return to your homeland, Asagi. What? Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son. Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention. And you will see Japan and your son again.
You scoundrel!
Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So whatever rash claims you might make in court will have no trouble stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asuki. The gallows. Don't forget that I still have a weapon at my disposal. A document revealing a truth that I know you're desperate to keep hidden. Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want to protect this country's law and order. You understand? So, what's it to be, Asuki? Kazuma. He did it for me. And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect this country's law and order, at any cost. He says with a heinous smile.
Objection!
To the guy he threatened to have assassinated. I've never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. But in the light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Was it you, Lord Mael Strongheart? A rather brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Beric von Zieks? That the spirit of your late brother, that paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you? What? What brazen? I knew that you'd play the part to perfection, but your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel. An angel with bloody hands? I think not. Those who had cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became. But Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago, when he was invited to work in Japan. That's right. So I had to employ the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Scythe. Dr. Scythe. So what with the execution of the Professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of the Bailey, I've successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade. That is everything. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, I do hereby confess, it was I who started the concept of the Reaper. However, let me say in my defense, it was all for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire. So he admits to it. Lord Strongheart did it? An unforgivable collection of crimes. But still, all those who died at the Reaper's hands were rotten to the core anyway. If it was all in aid of keeping London safe. There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Therefore, this trial can go no further. Now, I would like to entreat all those present. Beyond these 4 walls, nobody need know the truth. Even Her Majesty must be protected from this. I trust you all appreciate the importance of my request. It is, of course, for the good of the country. Can he do this? Can the trial really end now?
Hold it!
I have one last question. For the accused, Lord Van Zieks. What? Of course, I know that you're a highly accomplished prosecutor, so I find it hard to believe that you didn't have any doubts at all. That you never suspected your older brother. Yes, the same thought occurred to me. It was only once, but yes, I couldn't say that I never had my doubts. My brother's sense of justice was extremely strong. Perhaps too strong, I observed. At that time, there were members of the aristocracy who were bleeding the country dry for their own gain. And since they were nobles, they were untouchable. For my brother, it was a source of great turmoil. And coincidentally, at the same time, the professor began his terrifying reign. During the time of the professor's killings, my brother did not appear to be himself. And that made you suspect? Yes. But it was only once, not more. Only once? Really? Excuse me. Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. And I still believe that now. Do you have any evidence to support that idea? The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend and mentor. That will do. Neither Clint Van Zieks nor Genshin Hisogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. But there are only two extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Hisogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. The wretched truth of what happened is exactly what as I have explained. Later today, I will present myself at the Ministry of Justice for whatever sanction is deemed appropriate. That is all. Court is adjourned.
Objection!
Yeah, I had a feeling this one was going to go on longer since this is probably the end of it. Thank you, Kazuma. Me? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made this 11th hour discovery. What discovery? My lord, I'm afraid I must insist the trial continues. I beg your pardon? As the court has been reminded today already, we must stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth. And to that end, one particular statement made by somebody in this courtroom moments ago revealed a very subtle contradiction. What contradiction? But all I did was ask the accused one simple question. Why would he have attacked his mentor? Why would he attack the guy who put him in power to begin with? Well, it began with Lord Van Zieks and his recollection about his brother. But Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length. I merely pointed out that we can draw no further useful conclusions here. So where on earth is the contradiction? One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's definitely, it's time to identify who. And I'm gonna go back. Hold on. Can I still say it? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it's Strongheart. Because one thing that I found weird was that he said it was in black ink. Which, I mean, that's the will Genshin... I don't know. I'm going with... Stop. This one. It was Lord Strongheart, I'm sure of it. Something he said was slightly off. Come on, Mianosuke. Think back over his words. Find the problem. Neither Clint Van Zieks nor Genshin Isogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. There are only 2 extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence against Genshin Isogi, and the 3-page last will and testament. Wait a minute. 3-paged? This is only 2. Lord Strongheart, would you care to explain? Explain what, Counsel? Among the statements you made just a few moments ago, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. Inconsistent? And whilst an inconsistency remains, the defense has a right to pursue an explanation. Ryunosuke, what? Let me warn you about the statements you are making, Counsel. They may very well prove fatal. You claim my words contain a contradiction? With which piece of evidence, I ask you?
Take that!
This here is the will left behind by Mr. Isogi. The 2-paged will. What? Yet moments ago, your precise words were... the 3-page last will and testament. Ah! Could it be that originally... there was a 3rd page? For a moment, I thought perhaps you'd identified something worthwhile, but it's a mere trifle I see. A trifle? Governor Caden! Eh? What can I do for you, sir? You were present when the Japanese man penned his last will and testament. Aye! I was there for sure. I remember that black worm-like scrolls to this day. And... I'm quite certain, my lord, there was a 3rd page at the time. What? Then why do we only have 2? Well, the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mind correctly, the 3rd was a message to his lad back in Japan. For legal purposes, we required only his will. And we wouldn't have wanted any uncomfortable words about Britain to get back to Japan, eh? It was decided that the 3rd page ought not be sent.
Objection!
How dare you make that decision? I had a right to know what it said, to hear my father's final words to me. The court is no place for sentimentality, Counsel. As it happens, I have the 3rd page of the document with me here now. My father's message! It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings. It'll be too late once the trial is over. We need to know what it says now. Even the slightest thing may give us a vital clue. My lord, the defense calls for Genshin Isogi's last words to his son to be read out loud before the court now. Your request is denied. The inevitability maudlin words can be of no consequence.
Objection!
Now. The prosecution agrees. The court should know the contents of the message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined. Very well then, Governor Caden. You will read the 3rd page of the document for all present to hear. Yes, sir! Only, I should point out, my lord, that I cannot actually read worm language. This beautiful handwriting? Shame on you, Perry. Ah, Mikotoba. If I could be of assistance here, I would be happy to translate the words into English for the court. Father! You are still here, are you, Dr. Mikotoba? Naturally, I consider myself a member of the judiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I've translated Genshin's message. Your cooperation is much appreciated. My voice keeps changing for this guy. I'm sorry. Kazuma. The truth is shrouded in darkness. A darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Kuruma, twist thy head and watch them fall. All thy mortal foes. Twist the head. That's the end of the message, it would seem. Twist the head. Because I have to unsheath it first? Twist the mighty head. Oh, I thought I saw something there. Is there something in the sword? Or the scabbard? Haiku poem? Twist thy head. Father. What is Kuruma? The name of the Yasuke's clan's famous sword. A razor-sharp blade known to all, passed down for generations. It embodies the Japanese spirit. It's not known to me. This katana sword that was submitted as evidence early in these proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Gregson. All these procrastinations are beginning to try my patience. Adjournment of this court is long overdue. As a presiding judge, I have been accommodating as possible of the will of the courtroom. I'm sorry, I'm checking that again. Twist thy head. Here we go! Mighty Kuruma, twist thy head and watch them fall. All thy mortal foes. See, I knew the game was going to do something stupid like that. The second that line popped up, it should have let me try this. Hell, it should have actually let me try this earlier. It hurts my neck, that's the trouble. Mr. Naruhodo, if I might make a suggestion? I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head. Oh. I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago, and as I'm sure you're probably aware, the sword's head is part of the very end of the hilt. It's written as head in Japanese, but it's pronounced as Kashira, I believe. Kashira? So Mr. Asogi's words really mean twist the butt of the hilt? You don't think... Oh my god! Ah! Look what's inside. Is that a tightly wound sheet of parchment? Scarlet ink! It's written in scarlet ink! I penned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it? Mr. Naruhodo, look at the signature at the end! Clint Van Zieks, and the date, 10 years ago, on that fateful night. So for 10 years, it's been silently concealed inside Kuruma and nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks! Wait. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable. I gotta read that. Gotta read it. 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 Hello? What? What? It's not letting me read it! This is bullshit! The game straight up said there is very important information on this document! And I have it! It's in my possession, it's in the court record, and it's not letting me examine it! Guys, look! Look in the bottom right corner! There's no button to examine! There is for this, there is for this, there is for this, there is for this, there is for this. What is this bullshit? However, despite all that, no new information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Clint Van Zieks tragically lost all sense of morality. Morality, not mortality, I'm sorry. When he murdered his former mentor, clearly he was already devoid of his normal faculties.
Objection!
How dare you! I refuse to believe that of my brother!
Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever. Ah, we have it! Lord Strongheart, you appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why. We've heard you state time and again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interest of protecting British law and order. And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved the reduction of in crime in the capital of the
Objection!
What about Inspector Gregson, then? And Dr. Wilson? There were no criminals. You used them to achieve your ends. And then you had them killed. However you dress it up, there was nothing fair or just about that. Lord Strongheart, what exactly is that you're hiding? He's smiling. Dr. Mikatopa. Were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it's supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. Still not letting me examine it, which is bullshit. No, I got something. In which case, I hereby order all discourse from these proceedings to be struck from the record. This is my last chance. Mr. Naruhodo, I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. But can I? Present evidence! I have no idea what's on this document, but I'm presenting it anyway! As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present. There's the music. What? Don't be absurd! There's nothing of relevance remaining from the time!
Objection!
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour that had escaped everyone else's attention. Nonsense. What is it, Ryunosuke? What do you have? I dare say, the final decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale. How can you? Decisive? Well, it would appear there's no escaping it now, my lord. Let it be so, then. Present whatever you think you have that can sell this decade-old enigma, if you're capable. What exactly is this evidence that the defense claims to be so decisive?
Take that!
There is a single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks. Ha! A wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, that document was lost long ago. It has been found. That's right, it was. Only, I have it right here. Discovered just moments ago. Impossible! That can't be! Everything that's happened comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery. My brother's last will and testament. Where did you find that? I have it now! It teleported from Kazma's side into my hand! It was rolled up inside this. Inside Karuma? That ultimate weapon Genshin Isogi obtained has lain undisturbed in the hilt of his sword all these years. Just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth. The signature and seal certainly look official. My God, It's true. Can I read it now? I can't. What bullshit is this? It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake. I forbid the content of that document from being read out! Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it!
Objection!
Why? Why are you forbidding this now? You can't do that, my lord. This document could explain everything. That document could literally destroy the meaning of justice in this country. I demand that you hand it to me, at once! Why? What are you trying to hide? Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? What are you implying? Court is adjourned with immediate effect! Clear the courtroom!
Objection!
Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer a fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice. I beg your pardon? Forcibly ending a trial without good reason? And not any trial, a closed trial by order of Her Majesty the Queen? To defy the monarch's will is treason! I got him now and I'm excited. I still think it's bullshit that they won't let me read it, but I like this. It's exactly as the young Japanese man said. Read it out, now! We have a right to hear what's in that will, a right and a duty. Well, well, my lord. It would rather appear as though proceedings aren't going quite as you'd hoped. You fools. Go ahead, Ryunosuke. Read it. The prosecution gives it full support. Very well, then. No. For God's sake. No! He was under orders from Strongheart to do it. Either that or he's covering for Strongheart. He let Strongheart use the dog. I penned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. I'm using Barrack's voice for this because I figured it's appropriate. The hour is 11 p.m., and I sit at my writing desk in my office. My good friend Asogi stands at my shoulder. He has expressed his intent to invoke the dying ritual of the duel, that I may depart this world with honor. An honor of which I am utterly undeserving. The Japanese are a truly merciful people. I, Clint Van Zieks, Lord of the Manor of the Van Zieks estate, hereby confess to the following. I am the killer who has come to be known in society as the Professor, guilty of 4 counts of murder. I will not hear discourse of corruption rife among the aristocracy, which is to me as one of them so apparent. However, 6 months ago, I took the life of a member of the House of Lords at the hearts of depravity. A demon who habitually sacrificed the common man to further his own interests, abusing his position of power. The law is impotent against such vile avarice. Only a fellow demon can rid society of this menace. That demon was my quarry, upon whom I willingly set my great hand. But though I am a hunter of some experience, I am a poor felon, it seems. My guilt was at once recognized by another, and I become subject to his extortion. He held over me the threat of exposing my wicked crime to my beloved wife and brother. Under that threat, I have done this man's bidding for months now, killing those he demanded I kill. As I watched my former mentor perish before my eyes at the jaws of the hound I commanded, I realized I had lost the shred of decency within me, and sunk to the level of a wild beast. There is no path back to the light, be it I or my dear friend Asogi who dies this night. I am eternally damned. To my extortioner, male Strongheart, may you feel the jaws of the beast at your throat every time you swallow. He knew and he didn't say anything. So we know, yes, Clint Van Zieks was a murderer. But somebody was directing him and naming his victims. His extortioner, Lord Male Strongheart. It was you! Lord Strongheart, a moment ago, you claimed that what the court has just heard could destroy justice in this country. But you weren't trying to protect justice at all. All you were trying to do was conceal the secret of your true nature and the countless lives you sacrificed up till now. It just didn't make sense to me that the third victim, the former Lord Chief Justice, was my brother's benefactor and a man of lofty principles. As I said, Clint had no possible reason to kill the man. Excuse me. But you did, didn't you, Lord Strongheart? To eliminate the man who stood between you and the office you'd set your sights on. So you used your own hunting dog, Lord Clint Van Zieks, to take him down. It had to be done. London's unsavory shadows are deep, and the arm of the law fails to reach their depths. Crime must be cut off at the root, but Lord Chief Justice at the time couldn't see that. He was weak. Lofty principles, you say? Tantamount to cowardice, if you ask me. Which is why I took his place, in order to fight the crime he was allowing to spread like wildfire. But murdering the man? The Reaper, the Professor, the name makes no difference. As I've explained countless times already, it was all done for the furtherance of law and order in London.
Objection!
Are you going to legitimize the murder of my father now too? Ah, Genshin Asogi. Well, that was unfortunate. I had fully intended to see him back to Japan as we'd agreed. I don't believe you. It was you, wasn't it? You killed him. No, it wasn't me who took your father's life. It was Barrick. He admits to it. Then who? Why are we still questioning this? On the night following his mock execution, I went to Logate Cemetery at 3 in the morning with Jigoku. Judge Jigoku? There had to be a collaborator on the Japanese side to manage Asogi's treatment after his repatriation? What? Jigoku had a fierce ambition. It made him easy to manipulate. 10 years ago, after he'd stood trial for the destruction of the witness stand, I had words with him. When I told him the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs could be his, he couldn't agree fast enough. Seshiro. Fool. As you know, Asugi escaped the prison in a closed casket and was subsequently interred. We intended to dig him out of his grave before he ran out of air. But sadly, all did not go to plan. There was an unexpected visitor to the cemetery with his own ideas about digging up graves. A man who witnessed what nobody was supposed to see. Enoch Drebber. I don't know why I put on a voice for that. That's supposed to be my own voice. Of course, I knew grave robbers frequented London cemeteries. But that grave on that particular night? Blast! If people find out the convict wasn't really executed, the scandal will rock the very foundations of the Empire! Then what do we do? Shoot him, Mr. Jigoku! Shoot Asogi at once! He can't live now that this has happened! He has to go! What are you talking about? You had an agreement! You promised he could return to Japan! Everything has changed now. If the truth goes out because of this, both of us would be finished. Forever! Come on, Jigoku! Do it! Pull the trigger! Shoot! Jigoku shot Asogi from the shadows. The grave robber was so close, the blood sprayed over his coat. He fled as fast as his leg would carry him. I thought it was Barrick. I thought Barrick said he did it. Then Jigoku and I put Asogi's body back in the grave from which he just emerged. When I later learned of the waxwork modeler's presence at the scene as well, I made her swear to 2 things. Never to remove the professor's mask, and never to speak of the events of that night. And with that, the secret was buried along with Asugi's corpse. So, now you know what really happened in Logate Cemetery that night. It was Jigoku, your Japanese acquaintance, who killed Asugi in the end, you see. He claimed to be the man's friend, but when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger. Just before Mr. Jigoku left the courtroom earlier, he said that the assassin exchange proposal was a demand from his British counterpart, not a request. So you coerced him too, using what happened in the graveyard. By that time, Jigoku was the Minister of Foreign Affairs negotiating international treaties with Britain. You can imagine what would happen if it came to light he'd murdered a compatriot 10 years earlier. He would have lost everything. I merely reminded him of that. How do you sleep at night? These past 10 years, I've fought tirelessly with the darker recesses of London's criminal underworld. And I've used whatever means necessary to ensure that justice prevails and law and order reign supreme.
Objection!
That couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, you haven't fought crime at all. How dare you? I saved Clint Van Zieks from dishonor in his death. Whilst behind the scenes, you systematically buried anyone who stood in your way. And then, you made my father take the blame. It's unavoidable. It was the only way to protect our justice system and public order. Let's not forget the others you had killed as well. Setting the defendant up as the Reaper to cover up the truth behind the murders of countless more. That's enough! Do you have any idea of the conniving that led to the acquittals of those wretched criminals? You have to fight fire with fire! Our courts can't function without a Reaper! Can't you see all I've done for this country? This has been my struggle!
Objection!
You've done nothing! It's Lord Van Zieks who's worked tirelessly and justly in court, whilst enduring the disgrace of the Reaper name! And Inspector Gregson, fraught with anguish for having sullied his hands through a desire to do the right thing. Not to mention Genjin Asugi, who risked his life going in pursuit of the truth you tried to hide. No, the darker recesses of London's underworld were largely filled by you. You little, when will you get it through your thick skulls? That it was all for Queen and country? I'm tiring of that excuse. You've constantly twisted the truth for bargaining power, to make others do your bidding, nothing more. People who willingly twist the truth and coerce others have no right to call themselves part of the judiciary. I strongly suggest you don't ever talk of justice again! I'm not screaming. He's frozen in place now. No, he's back. Well, well, well. Dear me, my good fellows. Dear me. A well-deserved round of applause, I think, for a quite marvelous performance. What are you talking about? Those delightfully grave expressions. That beautifully pronounced Queen's English. Really, our friends from the Far East are quite the picture of industriousness. You fraud. Keep your mockery. Please, don't misunderstand. It really is exactly as you've both said. What are you trying to say? I have occupied the darker recesses of London's underworld, and how did you put it? Done nothing? I confess it's a little embarrassing to have it pointed out quite so starkly, but yes,
I really have done nothing, which means I can be indicted for nothing, no? What? Excuse me. It's true. Personally, I have committed no crime. I've merely been surrounded by fools who've acted very rashly indeed. You can't get away with that! You've consistently preyed on people's weaknesses! And what? Threaten them? Are you sure it wasn't just bargaining? I would like to address all the good lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the judiciary here present. You all know these darker recesses are in our great capital, and deep down, I believe you also know that to fight those who dwell there requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. So let me appeal to your good sense now. Consider the situation with me. If this catalog of horrifying revelations, excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to do this. I've been trying to hold this back because I'm like, oh, it's just about to end. I have to do it now. Sorry, disgusting silent noises were to become common knowledge among the 6 million inhabitants of London, what might happen? To learn that the infamous murderer of royals and nobles was a respected member of the aristocracy himself? That evidence was fabricated in the scapegoat's trial amid secret negotiations with prosecutors to effect a jailbreak? That the Reaper of the Bailey was an organized group of assassins managed by Scotland Yard Inspector? And finally, that it was all masterminded by the Lord Chief Justice himself? If the general public of Britain knew the truth, all faith in police and the prosecutor's office would be completely lost, without doubt. Public order in the capital would completely break down. We'd be cast back to the lawless days of the last century. Precisely as it was 100 years ago, when 1 in 10 of the population were criminals. Think what we've accomplished since then. A public policing force, a comprehensive set of laws. And if we want to continue to protect this new era of law and order, as I say again, we must at times occupy the darkness ourselves. We have successfully identified and apprehended the man responsible for taking Inspector Gregson's life. That is all that was expected of this trial. All these other matters have been discussed. Will be eliminated from the minutes of these proceedings in the interest of preserving law and order, and to protect Her Majesty the Queen, of course. Well, my lords and ladies and gentlemen, what say you? He has a point. The things Lord Strongheart has done are quite unforgivable. But on the other hand, isn't it our duty to maintain law and order in the capital? You can't deny that the threat of the Reaper over the years has done wonders for the crime rate. And by fair means or foul, that's all thanks to Lord Strongheart. Are you hearing this? This is the will of the British judiciary? For your rousing response, friends, I express my heartfelt gratitude. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the record shall be erased. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation to his favor. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation. You've conclusively proven his guilt, yet still he manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do. Ryunosuke. Looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. There's really only one path left to open to me. I was gonna say pull the rabbit's ear. Raise an objection? Yes, when all the games are over, it's the obvious choice.
let my voice reverberate around the courtroom and make people listen to reason.
Objection!
You got nothing, do you? That was the easy part. But what do I say next? As a man who fought many battles in this very courtroom, let me offer some advice. Objections need substance behind them. Otherwise, they are merely objectionable. Yeah, about that. I guess present evidence and be like, I got a rabbit here and I'm gonna pull its ear! Don't tempt me, I'll do it, I'll rip off its ear! Yes, as I know only too well, the only thing that carries any weight in court is hard evidence. But Mr. Naruhodo! Oh, we got new music. What evidence is there to use at this stage in the trial? I mean, other than the rabbit, I don't know. The rabbit?
Take that!
Oh my! Yes, Mr. Sholmes asked if you had that with you earlier. We've exposed all Lord Strongheart's wrongdoings now. I have no doubt that Mr. Sholmes had already deduced exactly how the truth would unfurl. So I think it must be time for the great detective to take center stage, don't you? Yes, absolutely. Let's take the hair by the ears then, and heave! Alright, here goes. Heave! Ow, 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 ow! My dear fellows, must I remind you every time? A gentle tug will suffice! Mr. Sholmes, you're looking in quite the wrong direction, Mr. Naruhodo. Because I'm over here! Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, he's... What the fuck?! I thought the bit about the hologram in the reviews was a joke! I wasn't expecting you back, Sholmes. Delighted to be here again, Lord Strongheart. What? What is the meaning of this? Bailiff, seize him! Put that man in irons! This is a closed court! You've been warned once already, man! What the? We can't get a hold of him, my lord! We just go right through him! I'm afraid your efforts are wasted. You see, the great detective you see before you is composed entirely of light and shadow. An image, if you will. Mr. Naruhodo, I must congratulate you on your fine deductions. Mr. Sholmes, what on earth is... Are you familiar, I wonder, with the invention known as the telephone? What? The fuck? How? What? Well, yes, I hear that some public telephones have been installed recently in Tokyo. The sound of the speaker's voice is converted to an electrical signal and transmitted instantly to another place. Quite. Sounds are transmitted. So could not images keep them company amused? Not like this! I'm sorry, I have to agree with that one reviewer. This isn't possible with today's technology. Let alone fucking 1900s, I want to say? Modest experimentation, Mr. Sholmes? What modest description? And someone incidentally, I thought we might just, transmit an entire scene. Someone incidentally, Mr. Sholmes? Now you're just being immodest. Do you mean to say you're not actually here, Mr. Sholmes? I think I threw out my voice. I knew my trusty partner would have no trouble grasping the concept. Except he's grasping the stand to steady himself after your shock arrival. Poor father. I would have hoped he might have been forewarned, being the great detective's great partner. Leave my courtroom at once! Get out, or I swear to you! Damn me, you on the other hand, Lord Strongheart, appear to have a very poor grasp of the situation. Allow me to reiterate, I am not here, which would, I hope, lead naturally to one asking, where exactly are you? The very question I was awaiting. I am at present enjoying the air in a rather splendid garden. A garden? Not just any garden, you understand. A garden at Buckingham Palace.
What? You can't be Buckingham Palace!
What's Buckingham Palace, Mr. Sato? I've never heard of it. Do you ever read the news, Mr. Naruhodo? No, it depresses me. Mr. Sholmes, is Iris with you there?
Ah, well now, Iris is currently enjoying some tea. With Her Majesty. Her Majesty? Not just any Her Majesty, you understand. Her Majesty the Queen of the British Empire. What? What? What on earth is all this about?
Buckingham Palace is Her Majesty the Queen's residence in London, Mr. Naruhodo.
Order! Order in court! I demand immediate silence! Her Majesty the Queen? You can't be! I mean, no! This is some sort of unforgivably distasteful trickery by a third-rate detective, that's all!
Unforgivably distasteful trickery? What an apt description.
A closed court session attended by elite members of the judiciary is a rare event. I presume that Her Majesty would be more than a little curious about the proceedings. So, I decided to show her everything, from start to finish. Huh? You showed her? Indeed. By dint of the Herlock Sholmes remote cinematograph... Cinematograph? You meddling! This is some kind of nightmare. Just as I appear to be standing here before you, regaling you with talk of my latest invention. No doubt you've inferred that the reverse is also true. You don't mean... Her Majesty has seen and heard every moment of the proceedings. I assume there would be no objection, after all. Every trial in this country is conducted in, under the auspices of Her Majesty, as you know. You! I confess, I'm quite impatient to hear Her Majesty's opinion about the unforgivably distasteful trickery in which you've engaged over the past 10 years. No! I was merely... Oh, so sorry to keep you all waiting. Vicky and I had so much to talk about. Iris, there you are. Will we actually see like a queen model? In fact, I have a little message here from Her Majesty. A message? Well then, Iris and Majesty doesn't get to read it. Well then, if everyone is sitting comfortably, ahem. Forthwith and with immediate effect, all authority previously afforded to Male Strongheart is hereby revoked forevermore. Huh? Furthermore, he will be prosecuted for crimes against his country in public trial with jury in the coming days.
So, it seems that Her Majesty doesn't believe we need to fight fire with fire. Justice in this country needn't be administered from the shadows at all. Male Strongheart. The darkness you fostered to conceal your despicable actions these last 10 years is a thing of the past now. After today, your brand of law and order has no future, because no longer are you the Lord Chief Justice. In the eyes of the law and of Her Majesty the Queen, you are nothing but a criminal! Adjourned! 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 Court is adjourned! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! We may want to get out of here. The courthouse is about to be set on fire. Oh shit, he's gonna die! Ah! Yeah, we should probably get out. I mean, Ryunosuke is dead. Ryunosuke, Kazuma, everyone on the witness stand, possibly everyone else in the courtroom, dead. Although Sherlock Holmes, Herlock Sholmes and Iris are still alive.
Lord Clint Van Zieks left a will in which he confessed to everything. When those words came out of Asagi's mouth, it deranged me completely. I knew I must do anything and everything in my power to contain the situation. But I couldn't find the damn document. I searched his cell, but it wasn't there. Which precipitated the jailbreak plot I had pursued.
What do you mean?
The need to obtain that will was all-consuming. I was sure that if I fabricated Asagi's escape, he would emerge with the will somewhere on his person. But despite searching his limp body in the cemetery that night, it still eluded me. It never even crossed my mind that it was concealed in the sword's hilt. Why am I using Lord Van Zieks' voice here? Now I actually have to use the voice. What pains me now is that my brother left this world without a word to me.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks. In point of fact, I think perhaps that isn't the case.
Sorry? How can that be?
There is more to his last will and testament. Will they still not let me read it? God damn it!
What? As I confront the prospect of my demise, I feel bitter regret for my younger brother. Beric, you have always looked up to me, and now you follow in my footsteps to become a prosecutor. It is my fervent wish that my unspeakable deeds should not hinder your advancement. I ask not for understanding, for none could understand my depravity. I ask only for forgiveness.
Asagi is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final 2 wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zieks.
Clint.
Male Strongheart? You colluded with Seshiro Jigoku in a criminal plot so immense it spanned the oceans. You cold-heartedly murdered all those who knew the truth about what happened 10 years ago. But why did you set about that now, a whole decade later?
To ascend to the very peak.
I'm still using the voice. Those last 10 years made me realize being the Lord Chief Justice wasn't enough, short of becoming Her Majesty's Attorney General. I could have no real power to affect the changes needed in this country. And for that promotion, I needed to ensure no remnants of the past remained. How could you? I like everything to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe, like a well-oiled machine. And I was just a step away.
And for your ambition to succeed, did you even bother to count the number of brilliant people you had killed? Ah, Mr. Reaper, are you not forgetting something? Such as? You very much adopted your usual prosecutor-like demeanor in the proceedings now. But the reality of the situation is that you are the defendant in this trial. Ah! However, the presiding judge would appear to have fallen from the bench, as it were. May I suggest, therefore, that we entrust the final adjudication to an old friend? My lord!
As a member of the judiciary, I have been following the proceedings from the gallery, and I must say, I shan't ever forget the extraordinary battle between good and evil that I witnessed here today. The darkness that has blighted justice in our land these past 10 years has at last been dispelled, thanks, in no small part, to the efforts of a bright young star from the east. Defense Counsel Naruhodo. Yes, my lord! On behalf of everyone here present in the Old Bailey, I give you my heartfelt thanks. You're too kind, my lord! The first time I faced you in court, just under a year ago now, I had the faintest of it, I'm sorry, this one word is trying me for some reason. I think I've forgotten how to read again. Intimations that if British justice, so warped and twisted over its long history, was finally to know change, this might just be the man to do it. What? But at the time, I wouldn't allow myself to acknowledge the possibility. I couldn't overcome my hatred of the Japanese after the circumstances of my brother's death. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to apologize for countless discourtesies on my part. You are a lawyer of boundless talent. Oh, Lord Van Zieks. When I first arrived in Great Britain, I was literally a nobody, certainly not a lawyer. The truth is, my fortunes have entirely been made by the miraculous people I've met. My best friend, Kazuma Asagi, who led me here to Britain in the first place. My loyal and ever-patient judicial assistant, Miss Usado, who helped me study to become a lawyer. The brilliant Lord Van Zieks, who never failed to challenge his Nipponese rival. And not to mention, the exceptional master of logic and reasoning who showed me the true art of deduction, Mr. Sholmes. Saving the best for last, Mr. Naruhodo? What a relief. I'm well aware that without all these people's help and support, I wouldn't be what I am today. The truth is a guiding light that always leads to happiness. I've lived by that principle for a long time now, but actually, it's not true. The truth can also cause great pain, sometimes even leave people on the brink of despair. And for that reason, there are those who feel the need to hide the truth, who do it instinctively. But as soon as we allow our eyes to settle on something other than the truth, the darkness takes hold. And from there it grows, until eventually it makes us blind to the guiding light of truth altogether. So that's why it's my belief that we must all resolve never to avert our eyes from what is just and true. So that we can continue to walk the straight and narrow path ahead. Well, I must excuse myself now. But before I go, Mr. Naruhodo, let me compliment you on your grand opus. What? Without your beautiful, composed case against Lord Strongheart, Her Majesty would have been unable to act. Thanks to you and your fellows, the haunting undertones corrupting Britain's justice system have been silenced. Thank you very much. So, until our paths cross again somewhere. Well then, it would appear that this long trial has finally come to an end. My apologies for any anxiety caused, my lord. I'm quite sure we shall meet again here in this courtroom before long, Prosecutor Barrick von Zieks. In conclusion of these proceedings, I hereby declare the defendant, Barrick von Zieks, not guilty! That is all. Court is adjourned. November, 4:21 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. It really is all over. But did I sacrifice too much? Mr. Naruhodo? I really must congratulate you. It was a truly splendid performance. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for you. Oh, well, thank you very much. But I really couldn't have done it without you on my side through it all, Mr. Sato. Oh! Your kind words mean so much to me. It really was a very splendid show, that, Naruhodo. Excuse me. I'd have thought you'd be smiling from ear to ear, but you look rather glum. Well, of course I'm delighted about the verdict. But in exposing the truth, I'm afraid I've caused my client a great deal of pain. I'm really not sure that's what a lawyer ought to be doing. Oh, well, in that case, I'm quite sure that when you see Lord Van Zeke's smiling face, everything will seem much better. He's not gonna... Mr. Sato? Everything seems worse. He has a face of, like, thunder. Oh dear, I really shouldn't have presumed.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes?
Almost a year it's been now, since I first encountered you here in this very courthouse. For you to have risen to the level of excellence you have demonstrated today, well, it's quite remarkable.
But I exposed the most unpalatable truth you could ever have imagined in court today. I feel as though I've robbed you of something you held so dear.
What was it he said? To fight those who dwell in the darkness requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves? But that was just the feeble excuse of a coward. Only those with a steadfast eye for the truth have what it takes to fight the dark forces of crime. You made fine work of establishing that fact in court today.
Oh. Well, thank you. What a magnanimous words. What a magnanimous words on my part. I'm sorry. I'm quite sure that Kazuma-sama would have a smile on his face at this very moment if he were here. We just immediately got to him. He's not smiling. Kazuma. Mr. Sato, there's another face like thunder here. Oh my! If he really was here. Lord Van Zeeks. Allow me to congratulate you on your acquittal.
Congratulate me or curse me. You failed to bring down the Reaper.
I owe you an apology.
No, it is I who should apologize. Your father, Genshin, if I had been stronger, then perhaps had made an unforgivable error of judgment. I can offer no excuse.
I can offer no forgiveness. That said, I suppose you fought for justice and the truth. For that, at least, I can't withhold respect.
Your words mean more to me than you could know. I will hold them dear.
Kazuma-sama. I must say, there's one thing that's still bothering me. What's that? The will that Lord Clint Van Zeeks wrote before his duel with my father. Asagi is a fine detective, and a hunter worthy of respect. Probably just a hunter of criminals. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I've confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zieks. What can the second of his final wishes have been? That your father agreed to honor, you mean? I think perhaps I might be able to shed some light on that. What? Father? It was 10 years ago, as you know, the day before the execution was scheduled. I went to the prison to say my farewells to Genshin. Why aren't you putting up more of a fight, Genshin? If you'd only agreed to it, Sashiro and I would gladly petition the government. You've been through this already. You don't need to worry about me. Anyway, Eugene, I have a favor to ask of you. Something of great importance. You're one of my greatest friends, Genshin. Whatever it is, consider it done. I'm going to tell you an address. I need you to go there at once, in secret, and telling no one. You'll find a lady of the gentry in hiding there. A lady of the gentry? She's not in a good way, and she's with child. The birth is imminent. As a medical man, I'd like you to attend to her. Please, you're her only hope. By any chance, is the child yours, Genshin? Don't be daft. It's a favor that was asked of me by a man I knew, as his dying wish. My goodness! I swore to the man that I would help. That I would do whatever I could for his wife and his unborn child. But if something should happen to me, I need to ask you that same favor. You're the only person I know that I can truly rely on. Iris? What did you say? If something should happen to you? Tomorrow night, you're going to be... You never know, though, do you? What life will bring? Alright then, tell me the address. I'll head there at once, with Sashiro and... No! Not with him. Pardon? This is a favor I'm asking of you. And only you, Eugene. Right, I see. Very well then. That very night, I caught a train from Paddington to Dartmoor in Devon. I found the old house in the middle of nowhere. It was an old hunting hound lay asleep in the grounds. A poor woman was on the floor at the back of a darkened room. She was in mortal danger. I broke her waters to precipitate the labor before she weakened further, but it was a torturous birth. I did everything humanly possible for her and her child. And in the end, I was lucky enough to welcome a new life into the world. But tragically, my efforts to save the mother's life were in vain. I held the healthy newborn girl in my arms and wept for longer than I cared to remember. Eventually, in something of a daze, I looked around the room. There was precious little in it, but an old travel trunk caught my eye. It had clearly been well looked after over the years, made of top quality leather with fine stitching. But it was when I saw the emblem on the side of it that everything dropped into place. B for Baskerville. Baskerville? I mean, the woman was the wife of Lord Clint Van Zieks? That's right. The newborn was his daughter. What? But that makes no sense! Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted the child to my care in that case? I was completely unaware that he even had a daughter. I suppose he he didn't really have any choice.
What?
Well, your brother said he'd confessed everything to his wife, so she must have been beside herself with worry for her child. If the true identity of the professor were ever to be made public, the girl would be forever branded as the daughter of an infamous mass murderer.
Ah!
So the only solution was to distance the young girl from the Van Zieks family as much as possible.
I don't believe it.
I imagine that at his final hour, Lord Clint Van Zieks made the obvious choice. He would have thought to himself, this Japanese man here is someone I can trust. I honored my promise to Genshin, of course. However, only a month later, I was summoned back to Japan, and without disclosing the parentage of the child, I couldn't obtain permission to take her with me. Oh, how awful! I was completely at a loss. In the end, I had to ask my great friend. I asked him if he would be a father to her. That being Mr. Sholmes, I presume? Yes. He took one look into my eyes and agreed to it on the spot. Mr. Sholmes, he has a heart of gold. Really, all it can be said that I did for the child was to give her a name. Oh? When I'd come to Britain, I was trying to escape from the grief of losing my darling wife. So it was her name that I gave the little girl. Your wife's name, Professor Mikotoba? In other words, the name of my mother. Ameye Mikotoba. Ayame Mikotoba. Oh! That's right, Ayame. Or in English, Iris. Iris. I had no idea. Ouch! Mr. Naruhodo, what's wrong? This little thing just pinched me on behind through my trouser pocket. Hard. Oh, my dear fellows, can you hear me? Mr. Sholmes, is that you? Ouch! Yes, we can hear you. You seem to be excessive. You see what excessive tugging can do? Let that be a lesson to you. Mr. Sholmes, we weren't able to thank you properly before, but you were simply marvelous. Your checkmate move was a stroke of genius. Indeed it was, wasn't it? I surpassed myself, I feel. It had become apparent to me that that to stop Lord Chief's injustice would require such measures. Bruno, Susie! Oh, Iris! Was she listening into all this? Oh, I'm so pleased. What a wonderful outcome. Her Majesty Queen Vicky said she thought my special blend was delicious. Oh, I'm sure she did. After all, no one brews more delicious tea than you do, Iris. Let's have a party to celebrate. And Mr. Reaper, you simply must come too.
What? I'm afraid I couldn't.
The Reaper of the Bailey, flustered by a 10-year-old girl. Again. No, really? Oh, poo.
But I give you my word that I shall present myself at your residence in the near future to express my gratitude.
Oh, how lovely. You've promised now. I won't let you forget. Bye for now, then. All right, Iris. Thank you for all your help earlier. Oh, that was nothing. Just come back home soon. Ouch! Ugh. One final pinch goodbye, was it? Well, I think I ought to be leaving. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to accompany me?
Certainly. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me once again to express my deep gratitude to you. I believe you saved my life.
Wait, Lord Van Zieks!
Yes?
What are you intending to do now?
Well, clearly, I shall have to resign from the prosecutor's office.
Oh no!
I intend to publicize the full truth about the Professor case. Once that's done, the Van Zieks family will be ostracized completely from London society.
Surely not.
So as soon as I'm free from my employment, I shall leave the capital.
Oh, I see. Don't be a fool. Are those the actions of a man once feared as the mighty Reaper of the Bailey?
I beg your pardon?
For the past 10 years, you've endured the pseudonym that and been cast as one of the dark forces yourself. Now that you've finally been freed from that disrepute, your battle is just beginning, surely.
Well, I certainly never expected to hear those words from your lips.
I waited a very long time to come to London. Now I'm properly here. I intend to learn all that I can. Anyway, goodbye for now. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma Asuki. It seems as though he's really matured suddenly. He's not the only one who's matured, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I think we should make our way back to Baker Street. We must help Iris with tonight's dinner. We must. It was then that I came to an important decision about my future. 4th of November, 6:25 p.m. Sholmes Suite. I'm home! Shut in the face! About time you got here. We've been waiting ages, Odo. What are you doing with that colorful piece of history? It's a party, isn't it? It's gotta go off with a bang. I mean, fireworks, ideally. But when you ain't got fire, smoke's the next best thing, ain't it? There's a girl on Fresno Street who could help you with that, I think. Right! I'll remember that. When I blow your brains against the wall! You don't have to reload that thing every time I speak. You really must hear this. It's quite the most extraordinary thing. I assure you, it will defy your expectations. Take down every detail now, Mitoba. Ah, the world-famous detective, regaling his partner with a tale of his adventure, a sight to behold. Would you care to hazard a guess? Where do you suppose the fiendish runaway had concealed himself? Would you believe? Inside the trunk I found abandoned in his cabin? He was there! I would believe it, yes. I say, Migatopa, I detect not a hint of surprise. I wonder why that is. Maybe because I was there at the scene as well, Sholmes? What? You were? Then why the deuce did you say so before? Not quite the sight I was expecting to behold, but still. It's hard not to feel privileged to see him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Professor Migatoba. I'm finally back from the Bailey. And not a moment too soon. A feast prepared by Iris and Mr. Sato awaits. I must say, I haven't seen Susato looking so happy in a very long time. Ah, Bruno! There you are! Dinner's on the table, everyone. Please do come and take a seat. Time to fill me boots. Goodness, is that really true, Gina? Yep, I'm losing me Kloppa and going back to what I know best. It's a diver's life for me. Fucking what? You're really leaving the police force? But why, Jeannie? Well, the boss ain't around no more, so... Oh... Anyway, no matter how hard I try, the Reaper ain't never gonna accept a diver-turned-dick, is he? Well, people can change, you know? Ah, yes, that reminds me. I rather thoughtfully offered to relieve the bailiff of this now defunct piece of evidence. Eh? It's the Inspector's pocket watch, and the crown has been reattached. That watch was his pride and joy, a symbol of his great achievements at Scotland Yard. For 10 years without fail, it measured every second of the man's remarkable career. But now, it stopped. Someone needs to keep the memory of Inspector Gregson's career alive by taking on the great responsibility of winding that watch every single day again. Yes! Someone with an equally fierce detective spirit! It's gotta be me! There ain't no one else! Quite right. I mean, after all, the boss was... Well, he was my boss! Yes, Genie! Yes, he was! Oh yeah! And I made a promise and all, didn't I, Iris? That I'd become a proper detective one day and track down your old man? Oh! Oh, that was the wrong thing, whatever. Alright then, it's decided! I'll do it! And I swear! I'll find your dad and bring him kicking and screaming! That's not gonna be possible, unfortunately. I'm not entirely sure that would be appropriate. Yes, I think, Gina, it might be best to, well... I think I'd like to... I think I'd like you to forget that promise, Genie. Eh? Iris? Well, obviously I've always wondered about who my real daddy is. Of course I have. I wanted to know where I've come from. I thought it might tell me something about myself. But I've caused such a lot of trouble trying to find out. For so many people. Hurley, Bruno, Professor Mickey... Oh no, not at all, my dear. Really, you owe me no apology to anyone. Well, anyway, I decided to give up on it. Because I finally realized my daddy is the greatest in the world. I don't think it matters what his name is or where he's from. Don't you agree? Hurley? Ah, that's adorable. With every word, Iris. Thank you, Hurley. Thank you, Daddy. Aw, aw, that's sweet. I think, Mikitoba. Yes, Sholmes? I think that I ought to express my gratitude to you. Oh? For 6 years, you and I solved many a mystery together. And during that time, I remember countless expressions of gratitude for our good services. But a moment ago, I heard the most pleasing expression of gratitude of them all. And I should never have experienced it, were it not for you. You old softy, Sholmes. But I must confess, it's a weight off my mind to hear you say it. Well then, I think this calls for a lengthy violin recital, wouldn't you say? Oh well, the food would go cold. That's the only problem. Maybe next week, Hurley? Are you sure a week is long enough, Iris? Even amidst the most troubling of cases, even reeling from the most shocking of revelations, returning in the evening to this suite of rooms, there's always warmth and happiness to be had. The home of the world's greatest detective, and my home too, with my greatest family. 4th of November, 9:37 p.m. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. This attic room has been my home and office for almost a year now. I've certainly had some unforgivable experiences whilst I've lived here. But I think now the time has come. Time to bid this place farewell. Naruhodo. Oh! Oh! Professor! Are you alone? I didn't hear any sound from Susato's room. Yes, Susato-san went out after dinner. She took her carriage. Something about an important matter she needed to take care of. Ah, I see. I wanted to thank you for what you did earlier. Oh? With Iris, I mean. When the subject of her father came up, Lord Clint Van Zieks, I made up my mind many years ago never to tell her who her real father was. It's what was agreed with Genshin, after all. Lord Clint Van Zieks' final wishes before he died, you mean? Yes, I've had to take some rather drastic steps at times to protect that secret, you know. Calling Susato back to Japan 6 months ago, for example. That's why? When I read Soseki-san's report about his final days in London, my heart nearly stopped. I stumbled across the crux of the terrible case, the dog's collar. The description of the Baskerville insignia left me in no doubt. Baskerville. If you decided to investigate that insignia sooner or later, you'd have made the connection to Van Zieks. And to make matters worse, Susato knew of the unpublished story as well. The story that Iris had written based on my notes from the time. Ah yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Exactly. It was a work of fiction, but based on the grim reality of a huge beast of a dog being used as a murder weapon. A dog with a Baskerville family emblem around its neck. Armed with those two clues, I feared you and Susato might arrive at the truth. So I invented that story about having collapsed to justify her leaving London and returning to Japan at once. All in aid of halting any investigations you and she might have been contemplating. I see. Something I've never understood is why Susato-san came across that manuscript in Japan, though. You know, Iris' The Hound of the Baskerville story, I mean. Sholmes sent it to me. That was before Susato left Japan. He was very troubled about what should be done about it, you see. I'd read it and carelessly left it on my desk, which is where Susato came across it, of course. Ah! It was the only case Sholmes and I ever pursued that I didn't record in meticulous detail. I was stunned when I discovered that young Iris had pieced together so much of it from my paltry notes. Sholmes and I discussed the matter and decided that we couldn't allow the story's publication. At that point, I returned the manuscript by post to Sholmes for safekeeping. So you did all that to stop Iris from finding out the truth about her father. That's right, because Sholmes had told me how astute she'd become. However, having witnessed events in court today, I must say my opinion has somewhat shifted. Oh? I think at some point in the future, the time will come for Iris to know the truth. And when it does, well, I believe it will be for the best. I think so too. Actually, Professor, I wanted to talk to you about something too. Judging from that expression, I'd say you've come to a decision, have you? Yes, I have. I will be returning with you to Japan. Are you quite sure? I'm really only here as a substitute for Kazuma. But he's here in Britain now, as originally intended. Locum student Naruhodo doesn't really have a right to stay, I think. I see. Looking back now, when I first arrived here in February, my becoming a lawyer just seemed to be the way things turned out. With Kazuma, Susato-san, and Mr. Sholmes all gently pushing me in that direction. I spent the best part of a year immersed in this world, but always aware of a seed of doubt inside me. Until today. Standing in that courtroom earlier, all doubts vanished from my mind. was totally focused. I was sure of my belief in my client, and I was sure I could see the trial through. And at the end of it, I finally realized no one else chose this path for me. I chose it myself. 1 second. The path of a defense lawyer, eh? Yes, that's what I am now. That's where I'll be going back with you to Japan. And that's the path I'll be following for the rest of my life. Well, it sounds like you've made quite a resolution. I have. Very well then. I must say, it's extremely welcome news. I shall make arrangements for your return first thing tomorrow, but I don't imagine we'll depart for a few days. Not with the symposium having been cancelled now. Such a shame. Never mind. I'm sure there'll be other opportunities in the future. Well then, I'll bid you good night. Oh, she heard. Susato-san? I just wanted to let you know I'm back. Did you, hear what your father and I were discussing? I'm sorry, I did, yes. I couldn't help but... Oh, how much did you hear? Well... From the part about Iris' real father, I think. In other words, from the beginning. So you've made up your mind. You'll return to Japan and continue working as a defense lawyer. Yes, I'm sorry. I really should have consulted you about it. I did want to early this evening, actually, but you'd already gone out. Oh no, that's quite alright. I already knew that, that is what you decided, Naruhara-san. You did? Oh, what is this music? No. You're making game, you're making me sad. Why? Susato-san? Ah, yes? I suppose this means it has to be farewell soon. I suppose... He'll be a great help to Kazuma going forward. I mean, I know he's a brilliant lawyer, but he's new to the British courtroom. He'll certainly benefit greatly from having a brilliant judicial assistant at his side. I'll do my very best. I wish I could say it, but I just can't. I can't ask her to come with me. After all, she was always supposed to be coming to Britain as Kazuma's assistant. It's growing late. We should both try to get some sleep. I'm sure you must be exhausted after today. Oh, yes, you're right. Before I retire, let me just say one more time. You really were quite splendid in court today. So if you ask me, anyone who thinks of you as a substitute or locum should be ashamed of themselves. Susato-san. Thank you. November 5:42 a.m. Port of Dover, Quayside. I can't believe this day's finally come. You're really leaving then, Runo? I'm afraid so, Iris. Thank you so much for everything. I don't know what I'll do without your wonderful cooking and delicious tea. Oh, I wish you weren't going. But you have to come back and visit. Say you will. Of course. I promise. Well, it was a brief reunion, but it was a pleasure to pursue a case with you again after so long. For a while, at least, it felt like old times. Yes, I suppose on reflection, there's something to be said for it. Having a little fun once in a while. I'll just go and say goodbye to the professor as well, I think. Alright, Iris, you do that. Oh, no, I'm not. I just stop. Oh, I thought there's a part of me that thought. Okay, hold on. We got voice acting.
I've just checked, Naruhodo-san. Your luggage is already on board. Such a beautiful morning. Perfect for embarking on a journey, isn't it?
Before I set off, I'd just like to say how thankful I am for everything you've done for me. And give my warmest regards to Kazuma, please.
Actually, I think you ought to give him your regards in person, don't you?
Sorry?
Ryunosuke,
Kazuma! What are you doing here?
do you really think I'd miss my best friend's departure?
Thanks. To be honest, I'd been looking forward to our wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's capital, but,
Well, we'll have to save that for another time. Personally, I'm looking forward to facing you in court again.
Me too. But, we're both defense lawyers, so,
I'm going to become a prosecutor. I'll stay in Lord Van Zeek's tutelage for the time being, but before long, I intend to be just as formidable as the Reaper himself.
Oh, I see.
Actually, Ryunosuke, I have a favor to ask.
Name it.
I'd like you to take care of this for me for a while.
Karuma? Why?
Because I've seen it now. I've seen what's inside me, the demon that reared its ugly head that day. It was only for the briefest of moments. The last time I came face to face with that inspector. But it was unmistakable. I wanted to kill him. I've always known there are demons that live inside people. And now I know there is one in me. The fact that it very nearly consumed me is something I'll carry with me until the end of my days. While I devote my life to fighting those whose demons have got the better of them. As a prosecutor.
So, that's what you've resolved to do, is it?
Until I'm ready to face the demon within me. To slay it once and for all. I leave this in your care. If you'll take it.
Of course I will. I'll keep it by my side. Always. Until we meet again, then. You have your path to follow, and I have mine.
Naruhodo-san? The path you're going to follow from now on, I wonder if I might follow it at your side, and unless I'd be a burden.
What?
Aww.
I mean, I would very much like you to come with me. But aren't you...
You're so predictable, Ryunosuke.
I am?
Honestly, you never change at all. But that's what I like about you.
You mean you knew about this?
It was the evening after Lord Van Zeek's trial came to an end. She came to see me at the prosecutor's office.
Really? Oh, when I had that conversation with Professor Mikotoba.
So, you'd go with Ryunosuke back to Japan?
Yes. I know it's unfair of me to follow my own interests like this.
Coming here especially to tell me. You're a stickler for etiquette, aren't you? Well, what are his feelings?
We've never discussed it, of course, and Naruhodo-san has made no such suggestion. I worry that perhaps I'd be a burden to him.
He's just as much of a stickler for etiquette as you are. He'd never say anything before he was asked. But I'd feel happy knowing you were with him. Look out for him on my behalf, will you?
Of course.
Susato-san.
What do you think, Naruhodo-san?
With you by my side, no trial would seem too daunting. So if you're willing, I'd be honored if you'd come with me. Together we can take on the world.
I'm terribly incompetent, but if you'll have me, I'd be delighted.
Oh, no, not at all. If anyone's terribly incompetent, it's me.
Ah! What's wrong?
Your luggage, Susato-san. There's no time. The ship's going to set sail any minute now.
It's all right. There's no need to worry. As it happens, my luggage is already on board too.
It is?
Your fine judicial assistant has everything in hand as always, I see.
Bruno! Your ship's about to leave!
Time to go then. Look after yourself, Ryunosuke.
Kazuma, draw your sword. One day, when our paths cross, once more, we'll fight a duel of words across the courtroom. The day I eagerly await as a lawyer.
I've been waiting to hear you say that, partner.
Don't forget me then, Kazuma.
As if I could, Ryunosuke.
And Mr. Sholmes, thank you so much. I'm very much indebted to you.
Indeed, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe you are.
I'll never forget all you've done for me during my time in London.
Quite. I should like to think you will remember your debt of gratitude. Especially when I visit you in your country. What? The truth is, although many are ignorant of the fact, the world is far smaller than most folk realize.
Well, I'd be delighted if you came to Japan one day.
Oh yes! We'd welcome you with open arms, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh, that sounds wonderful! I can't wait!
I think this is the first
In
time
that
we're actually
case,
hearing
let us
Irish
conclude
voice.
that this is to be merely a brief parting, my dear fellows.
And that brings us to the end of my adventures in Great Britain. A peculiar twist of fate brought me halfway around the world those many months ago. But that was just the start of my journey. Who knows where fate will lead me next? Still, I'm confident this won't be my last meeting with the friends I've made in London. And when we're together again, no doubt the first words I'll hear will be,
Come, the game is afoot.
The ship, with our friends from the east, sailed steadily towards the distant horizon. But Sholmes' face was alight with joy.
The times may change, but a steadfast friendship will remain true, Wilson. We have but to gently close our eyes, and we are with our companions once more.
So I do just that. And when I do, I can hear his strong, familiar voice ring out.
objection!
Until we meet again, Bruno.
Bravo! Bravo! I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I've been thoroughly didn't get a chance to catch that, and there's no history, but no purveyor of electrical goods. And anyway, I decided an absence from London is an order, a surgeon from the Empire of Japan, perhaps. I understand that wardrobe class incurs no charges whatsoever. This game has pissed me off on occasion, like with the with Clint's Will and Testament. I gave a little note to Hurley the other day. It just said, "Thank you for everything, Daddy," but it made Hurley cry. And I gave him some lotion and then it as well to dye his hair. But he said that might make him cry too, so he'd rather not use it. But overall, I really liked this game, and I can easily recommend it. Just be ready for some BS every now and then. In those days when I was known as the Reaper, I felt your presence at my side. Once, unable to bear the burden of that grim pseudonym, I even retired from the courtroom. Despite everything, I still wear your prosecutor's badge with pride. Excuse me, but the darkness that once beset me is no more. Okay, I didn't get a chance to read that. In the words of a young foreign friend of mine, I must stride forward towards a brighter future. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. The music, the characters, the writing, the everything. Well, not the everything. Again, there were some things that pissed me off. Oh, the dog! The boss left a note for me, you know, and I can read every letter from them now, A to Z. It's cleared a load of stuff up. The boss was trying to protect me, see? And that's exactly what me and Chief Inspector Toby are gonna keep doing for Londoners. I only wish I could have said how grateful I was before he, you know. Yeah, great game. Definitely worth the money. I'm probably gonna let some of my friends borrow this game, actually. Gina, the truth is, I'm not the upstanding fellow you think I am. It might be a downright hot, but it's a good hot. You reminded me of when I'm true to myself. I didn't get a chance to read all that. I've got one more job to take care of before it's ta-ta to London town for the foreseeable. And then, I've got to complete your education in the art of detection, a la Gregson, as they say. But this is the end. Well, kind of, sort of the end. There's some bonus stuff that I'm probably going to finish in... Your Excellency, this man is accused of illegal entry into the office of blah, blah, blah. Objection! Oblique overstatement! Overruled! The minister has been detained in Britain anyway!
Who was this Kaddish counsel for the defense? And the woman...
Oh, really? My friend Susao-san is in the British courtroom all the time and doing... Why are you still in the sailor outfit? Perhaps I should engage in the services of a regular legal team. I forgot what I was getting at. I completely forgot what I was getting at. Mama, is it true about Japanese people? Are they experts at filleting corpses? Yes, they are. Fish corpses on the whole. I'd like to hone my own filleting skills. You don't mind, do you, Mama? Yes, I do. I'm not a corpse yet, am I? No. And I'm glad. Aw. I do have plans for the next game I'm going to be doing on the Tuesday streams. It is mainly going to be a filler thing that I'm just going to do until I find something more concrete I want to do on Tuesdays. Here I am in Great Britain on invitation of my dear old university friend. He sent me a very nice letter saying he'd like to show me around now that everything was settled. But what have I done? I was so excited. I picked a splendid hotel, and now I can't afford the bill. Oh, Barrack, come to my rescue again, please! I wish I could just vanish into thin air sometimes. I'll be giving you a little hint as to what that is when the credits are done. I was expecting to just kind of leave the room and start the air fryer because I haven't had dinner yet and I'm hungry. But apparently, this game wants me to do voice acting. Terrible voice acting, but voice acting nonetheless. When I went to make the waxwork impression of the killing of the but even in the witness's stand of the highest court in the land, I could never speak of it. The Lord Chief Justice and I had struck a bargain, you see. For a faithful reproduction of the visage, there is nothing we two spells would not do. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. We've got that bittersweet feeling here, where on the one hand, I'm glad I get to start a new project. On the other hand, I'm sad that one I've been working on so long is going to an end. Hehe, everyone calls me gossip. Oh no. Oh no. You again. They call me non. I cannot do it. This is ridiculous. How daily, how charming. You've made lots of new friends here, I see. Yes, and when we're released, we're all going to go... Didn't get a chance to read that. What was I talking about before? I forget. When I was accepted on the foreign study tour, I knew exactly what path I had to take, and how it might have ended. I knew that I wanted you there to see it. If I ended up on the dock, there's no one else I would have rather had defending me. But now, thanks to you, there's a new path I want to take. I'm sure we'll meet again in the courtroom, my friend. Until then, I leave Kuruma in your care. Oh yeah, the game. It's mainly just a filler thing that I'm gonna do until, like, I mean, I don't know, like a new game comes out and I want to stream that instead. Then that game will take its place. Need some tea, Naruhodo-san. It's important that you rest while you can. Once we arrive in Japan, you shall be busy establishing your new office. I'm so delighted to be accompanying you. After all, your talents have been recognized by a great detective. Because you really are the greatest of lawyers. A great ace attorney, some might say. Yeah, she's on the line! She's on the line! I have no idea what that game may be, but... you know. Just in case. Oh, I took a picture before they left. Excuse me. Oh wait, now we have normal credits with no cutscenes. Okay. So, yeah, that was Great Ace Attorney. And there's Susanoo in the admittedly adorable outfit she had to do for her trial. Yeah, I'm gonna let the credits play while I go prepare my dinner. I'll be checking in on this every now and then just so I know when to end the stream, but expect there to just be dead air or the main menu for a few minutes. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining me on this journey. Once again, it's kind of bittersweet that it's coming to an end because I'm looking forward to the next project we're doing, but I'm also sad this is coming to an end because I've enjoyed it so much. And I've only recently gotten into the Ace Attorney series, just like a few years ago. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I think only one game had come out in that time. And since I had only just became a fan, I didn't want to play it yet because I wanted to be caught up on everything. But from what I understand, there has been very little news about Ace Attorney games since then. Only remakes and re-releases and the like. And honestly, I want to see the series continue. I want to see more come of this series. But, yeah. I feel like I should be saying more, but I don't know what I'll say. Oh yeah! I could be talking about this. Once again, people in Ukraine, they desperately need help. So, if you have the cash, if you have some spare cash, in the description of both this stream and of the video archived on YouTube, there are links to 2 articles, both list charities that are sending aid to either Ukrainian refugees or people in Ukraine who need the help. If you have the spare cash, please consider donating to one or more of the charities. With that said, I am going to mute the mic and start up the air fryer. And I guess I'll see you guys on Saturday. Oh yeah, that! I forgot about that! The next time I'll be streaming will be Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be continuing Pokemon Crystal, and we will begin our journey into the Kanto region. And, yeah, that's sure to be really fun. I will see you guys then, but before the end of the stream, I will give you guys a little hint as to what's to come of the Tuesday streams. Alright, with that, I mute my mic, and I will see you guys then. Just as I hit mute and got ready to leave, it does this. Okay, sure. We're coming in at almost exactly 4 hours. Capcom, thanks for making such a great game. Please make more Ace Attorney. I love this series for good reason, and while this game in particular did have some BS things about it, overall, I loved it. I want to see more of the Ace Attorney series. I would even love, if possible, if we could return to Great Ace Attorney with Ryunosuke and Susanoo. Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Finn. Risen Resolve. Oh yeah, and there's, I mean, while I'm here, I may as well say this. There is technically some more content But I think I'm gonna save that for like a bonus video I'll make in YouTube on my on YouTube on my spare time. Let's see here if I can show it off a little bit, or at least show you what it is. Button, special contents. Let's see here. Is it the gallery? Portraits, moving pictures? No. Wait, what the hell? That's Phoenix! What the hell? I'm very confused. Yeah, there is a lot more content. I didn't even know about that. Escapades. We got all these escapades. Maybe I'll show some stuff off in the gallery? Maybe? I don't know. But that will be content that will be going up on YouTube as pre-recorded content. But I told you guys I'd be showing you a little bit of a hint of what I'll be doing for the Tuesday streams. That will be, again, next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And here's the little hint of what I'll be doing on Tuesdays. Ignore the fact that still says Ace Attorney. Let me just... see you guys then.